Hello, I'm Matt from Soul Shifter. Welcome back to my channel. How many of you feel sad, depressed, unhappy, um, just off, blue, out of sorts? And how many of you have got the money to go and pay for therapy? Are you suffering from anxiety? Are you suffering from depression? Do you even know that you're depressed? Do you even know that if you can't get out of bed or if you struggle to get out of bed in the mornings and you just literally don't want to face the world and you don't want to see anything or anybody, how many of you know that's a sign of being depressed? I mean, so many people go through life suffering from actual clinical depression and they don't know it. Or, as in the case of many, many people, they literally don't have the money to go and be diagnosed. Or, if they have been diagnosed, they literally do not have the money to get the medication they probably need or the help they need. Talk therapy, talking about their issues. And this really came to light when I was watching a program on YouTube. Um, and I'm so sorry, Americans, I keep picking on you, but hey, you know what? Put yourself out there, you're going to be picked on. The American health system is I wouldn't say it's in a mess, but it certainly is one of the few health systems in the world where you've got to pay through your ass for medical care. It's it's very similar to South Africa. In South Africa, if you do not have a medical aid, you can forget about getting decent medical help. You will not be able to go into a like a private hospital. You will not be able to get an ambulance to take you to the hospital you need to go to. You're not going to get really, really good care. You're going to end up in a government hospital. And that's where my mom died. She died on a stretcher in the hallway. And I will never, ever forget this because it was a government hospital. Where she was lying in the hallway on a stretcher, they brought a manacled, and this I'm not making up, they marched a man past her bed who was in an orange jumpsuit and he was manacled, a prisoner, a criminal. He had been there for a checkup of some sort. And this is where my mother was. They marched a prisoner past her. And yes, I don't know if that makes me sad. I'm not the kind of person to get that kind of emotional in that sense, but it certainly made me think about a lot of things. My mom should not have been in that situation. And I would hate to see anybody else, especially some of you, be in that situation. And unfortunately, because medical help is so expensive and medicine is so expensive, not only in America and South Africa, but in many, many countries. But America, I see these programs where people are dying. They're dying because of simple things like insulin. Apparently, insulin is horrendously expensive to buy in America. It's also quite expensive here in South Africa, but nothing like overseas, you know. And how dare the big manufacturers do this? How dare they monopolize especially like with insulin, you know? It's a very interesting YouTube video. Just go onto YouTube and just type insulin um, pricing or whatever. And one of the first videos that'll pop up is this guy that got the monopoly on insulin. And I was just thinking, it's not only physical medical stuff that we need to look at. It's also mental stuff. Um, very, very few people on medical aid here in South Africa are able to use the medical aid for psychology, a psychologist or a psychiatrist or that sort of thing. It doesn't. You have to be on a very high scale for this to happen. It's not just people who are like everyday Joes that pay a couple of $100 or whatever um, every month for their medical aid. You got to be rich. You got to be pretty well off to afford medicine and constant care. And please excuse the motorbikes going past. You have to be quite like this to get this sort of help. And I was just thinking the other day, forget about being depressed, forget about suffering from massive anxiety. How many of us are just lonely? How many people just want someone to talk to? And this is very interesting because there is something called talk therapy. And talk therapy is where you literally just go to someone who's trained, a therapist who's qualified, and you sit and you chat to them. Now, it doesn't have to be a psychologist or psychiatrist, it can be a therapist or a counselor. And you just talk. And it's one of the most You know what they say? A problem shared is a problem halved. So you can go in and you sit and talk to somebody, and isn't that what we all really want? Someone just to talk to, not someone who's going to judge you and say, "Yes, but Mary Ann, you can't do that," or "Geez, George, how can you treat your wife like that?" Or you can't kick your child if it's naughty or whatever. You just want someone to listen to your feelings, because that's what we do as human beings. We talk. Okay, that's why I think we develop this kind of language that we can express our emotions, our feelings, and yet so many of us, we bottle it all up inside for many reasons. Maybe we're that kind of person, but often it's because we don't know where to turn. We don't know where to go. We don't have the resources to go and book an hour's session with a psychologist, a therapist. Okay, and that's what you call them in America, a therapist, a shrink. We don't all have that kind of money, you know. So where do we go? Where do go? I don't have money to go to a psychologist. They're horrendously expensive here in South Africa, and my medical aid doesn't cover it. So where do I go? I have a very understanding husband, and I dump all my shit on him, which is also really, really unfair. And what if your partner, your significant other, what if they're the ones that are giving you like a bit of uphill, or they're the ones that just irritate you? Please, I'm not talking about massive depression, and I'm not talking about where you're having domestic violence or domestic issues of that caliber, of that level. I'm talking about the little things. He doesn't put the toilet lid down, seat down. He doesn't put the toothpaste up. She leaves all her makeup lying on the counter. She brushes her hair and then the hair goes on in the basin. I'm talking about little things that piss you off, that accumulate and accumulate, and then boom, it's going to explode. If you had someone to talk to, someone who would just listen and not judge, perhaps that wouldn't happen. Perhaps you could say, "Oh my God, he does this," and then it's out of your system. And yet we are not doing this. It's very seldom that we find people who are willing to listen, people who are in a therapeutic situation, somebody who can actually understand and really listen. There's a difference between listening and hearing. I can listen to you all day, but I might not hear a word you say. Okay, and there's something called active listening. It's a skill that you have to learn, and it's part of a broader sort of psychology 101 subject. It's something that you have to learn. And there are so many of us out there who are willing to listen. We want to listen to you. We're not going to charge you. People who do talk therapy are not going to charge you an arm and a leg and a sort of half your kidney to listen to you. It's done on an affordable basis, and don't we all need that? Don't we all? I would be happy to spend $30 for someone to listen to all my cuck. Wouldn't you, my American friends? Wouldn't you pay $30 to just get someone you can talk to? Oh my God. Especially when you can't talk to like your best friend because it's a bit awkward, or your significant other because it's really awkward, or they're the problem, they're the ones that are pissing you off. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could do this and you had this available to you, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it's not going to require you to take out a second bond on your home, a second mortgage on your home to get an ambulance or go into therapy? What do you guys say to this? Do you know about this? Do you know anyone who does this? Do you just let me know down below what you think of the subject? It's a very open subject. It's a subject that I think is very, I don't think we think about this enough. And it's so important for our mental health. And, the world today is so insane that we all need to look after our mental health. So what do you think, guys? Am I talking shit, or do I have a valid point here? Let me know down below. While you're down there, like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, you know who I am. I'm Nat from Soul Shifter, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.